this book is about three women, all of whom are facing daunting circumstances, and they persevere and overcome. And I wanted to write about that. And of course, I still have the canine search and rescue element and the FBI element, so it's a mystery suspense, as well as, I hope, just an encouraging book.
We'll talk about this and much more today. Welcome to a Writer's Day podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to a Writer's Day podcast. My name is Ruth Douthit, and I'm an award-winning multi-published author of books in various genres, but right now I'm focusing on suspense. So head over to my website, artbyruth.com, to learn more about my newest release, Fatal Standoff, which is available right now on Amazon. So if you've read the book, thank you very much. Consider leaving a review on Amazon and Goodreads. You'd be amazed how reviews help us authors. And I'd love to know what you think of the book. So head over to artbyruth.com right now, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get chapter 1 of book 3 in the Desert Shadows Suspense series. That's right. I'll give you a taste of what's to come with Emma and Liam on their next investigative journey. Okay, let's get started with Linda J. White. She is on my podcast again today. I think this is our third chat to talk about her new book, Book 7 in the Canine Search and Rescue series that is so popular. She loves to write those white-knuckle fiction FBI thrillers with a twist of faith and hope for you, the reader. I love that. I think that's amazing. And her goal in life is to keep readers up all night turning pages. So you know the drill. Grab your favorite beverage, a comfortable chair, kick back and relax as we listen to Linda J. White talk about her new book. Hi everyone, welcome back. I have Linda J. White here with me again today. Welcome back, Linda.
Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure. It's always so nice to have you here. And I have to tell you, your readers adore you. They follow you everywhere. And your podcast episodes on my podcast tend to be the most downloaded episodes still. I mean, this is probably our third interview, and they remain the top most popular episodes. So I just want to encourage you with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate my readers, and they are wonderful people. I'll tell you that. They send me messages and encourage me, and they just keep me going.
Oh, great. Well, I appreciate them too for listening. Well, why don't you catch us up as to what you've been up to this year so far? And congratulations on the Holt Medallion Award.
Yes, I was so encouraged and pleased and gratified by that. My last year's book, A Great and Terrible Darkness, won the Holt Medallion, which is Holt stands for Honoring Outstanding Literary Talent. It's also someone's last name from the Virginia romance writers. And so A Great and Terrible Darkness was a double finalist. It was a finalist in both the novels with strong romantic elements and Best Book by a Virginia Author. And it won for Best Book by a Virginia Author. So I was very pleased and encouraged by that. Especially because my books are not heavy on romance, but again, there usually is some romance in it, a little bit anyway, and so I appreciate the Holt people who put on that contest, and that is so encouraging.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
And definitely, like you said, definitely encouraging, right?
Yes, and especially because it's judged by readers, and it's wonderfully encouraging. A Great and Terrible Darkness was in part about one of the characters whose wife died suddenly, and he went out on the Appalachian Trail, or I should say Appalachian Trail, to be honest, and decided to walk the Appalachian Trail. And everybody thought, oh, it was like he was killing himself or something, but he worked it through. He worked through part of his grief, had some amazing encounters, not only with people, but with the Lord out on the trail. And I think the book generates a lot of feels in people. I think it really does. So that was the book for last year, and it's been doing very well. It is the sixth book in my Canine Search and Rescue series. My husband worked for the FBI at the FBI Academy. So my books are either straight FBI thrillers or they are these canine search and rescue books with an FBI element. I've got an FBI character in there who does FBI things. So it's pretty fun. So then this year, I've been working on my next book, the seventh book, which came out June 1st, and it's called I Call Her Brave. And I've really felt like I wanted to have a title that kind of indicated hope, because
Mhm.
after A Great and Terrible Darkness, that was a pretty heavy title. And so this book is about three women, all of whom are facing daunting circumstances and they persevere and overcome. And I wanted to write about that. And of course, I still have the canine search and rescue element and the FBI element. So it's a mystery suspense, as well as I hope just an encouraging book.
Oh, wow. Sounds amazing. And yes, I know we all love your canine search and rescue stories, so that's great that it still follows down that same path. And I just think it's great how you are so, dedicated to this and you really tap into your readers and what they're looking for in a story. So thank you for that. And have you found over the years that your writing process has changed at all?
Well, the process, I've been writing for 30 years, so yes, it has changed over time. I mean, when I started out, I was a mom at home. My husband worked at the FBI Academy. I had some fairly minor knee surgery, and the next day I said to him, what would happen if, and I gave him this storyline, and he said, that's a great story. You ought to write it. And I kind of went, yeah, who, me? Well, he started dragging me over to the FBI Academy and introducing me to people, and they were so kind and helpful. They really were. This is before 9/11, so it was much more open. Today, you'd have to, it's very hard to get into the academy, but then it was more open, and I could go in and talk to people, and they let me sit in on new agent classes and all that. So that was an amazing start, and so many agents helped me and still continue to help me. But then after a while, after writing for a while, and I went to work because our second child was about to go to college, and we needed more money, so I started working at a daily newspaper. And in that time, I made a deal with my boss that I could come in late on Thursday mornings and so Thursday morning and Saturday morning were my big writing times, and then I would edit at other times. So that worked out really well. Now I'm retired and it's a whole different ball game. So my whole writing process, I think my writing style has changed too, because as I'm getting older, um, I'm not as much into the hard violence and things as I was at the beginning, especially, well, when my husband was alive, he would always tell me things like, he's talking him to death. He'd hit him by now. So I followed some of that. And anyway, I think my books are a little bit kinder and gentler, but I know that they really still hold people's attention. So that's cool. But I'm really more interested these days in dealing with a lot of the psychology and the reasons behind why we do the things that we do and integrating all that with faith.
Now, let's talk about I Call Her Brave, Book 7 in the Canine Search and Rescue. Tell us about this story and what inspired you to write it.
I think what part of what inspired me was I had this character that has been in the last several books, but she's been a minor character. She's the child of Scott Cooper, the FBI agent husband in the book, and she's the adult child from a prior marriage, very troubled. She's had all kinds of trauma, and she basically wanted nothing to do with her father. And a lot of people that I know who are my age are having that trouble now where their kid just cuts them off, their adult child just cuts them off
Mhm.
or completely walks away from anything any kind of relationship with them, and how painful that is. So I wanted to write about Scott's trauma with that relationship being so broken and still trying to have a relationship with her, but she wants nothing about it. And then I also wanted to write about her trauma and how she might process that. And so it's worked out really well. I mean, in my books, people don't come to faith right away. That never that it's a process for people, just like it was for me, to be honest with you, you know. And so I don't have her come into faith or having any, you know, incredible experiences like that. I have the people around her praying for her and talking to her and so on. So that's how it started out. And then I also got very interested in forensic genealogy, which is the way people, investigators these days are taking DNA evidence, even DNA evidence that was collected 30, 40 years ago, and rerunning it because the process um, of discerning different elements of it is so advanced nowadays. And then sometimes using reverse genealogy, like figuring out, um, like we have this particular piece of evidence. How might it match people that have put their DNA on 23andMe or
Mm-hmm.
uh, Ancestry or those services, those commercial services, and can they figure out who the perpetrator was in going that direction? So I was interested in that. So I created a character whose son disappeared when he was 6 years old, 10 years prior to the story. And so she's all these years, she doesn't know what happened to him. You know, he just went out to get ice cream with a whole bunch of other kids from an ice cream truck, and he's gone. So I had Jess Cooper, my protagonist, investigating the disappearance of Jaden Catlett and using some of that forensic genealogy to do it. So that was very interesting. I love doing research and figuring out all this stuff. And so it was a lot of fun.
Ooh, that sounds really remarkable. And the DNA, yes, that's a fascinating part of it. I haven't heard that in a while yet, where authors are using that. Most of them are going in different directions. So when you said that, it really grabbed my interest because I know there's been some folks are upset about their genealogy being used, being provided to the government without their say so. But when people did that, 23andMe and Ancestry.com and all that, yeah, there's always that risk, right? That it's going to be given to agencies that you did not know was going.
Yeah.
So I find that extremely interesting that you're going in that direction. So tell us about that research. What all did you do? Did you tap into FBI folks there, or was it just like internet searches or?
I did a lot of internet searches. I did read the book by, it was actually very interesting. The Golden State Killer was
Oh, yeah.
discovered like 30 some years after he perpetrated a whole bunch of really horrific rapes in California. And the way he was discovered, really, a lot of it were amateur sleuths just kind of trying to work through this stuff. And so they had some DNA evidence on that, and they managed to narrow down, like, okay, so if you get DNA, so you can find out, okay, this person probably came from Europe, or his ancestors came from Europe, or this or that. You can figure out some specific things. And they finally narrowed it down to about 18 possible people. This is through the male line, 18 possible matches to that DNA. And then they started looking at, okay, was this guy even born when these crimes were committed? No. So that knocks out some of them. And then where was this guy during that time? Well, he was in the Navy in Norfolk, you know. So no,
Hmm.
he probably wasn't the perpetrator. And so they just narrowed it down until they found this guy who was like it. By that time, he's a grandfather, you know, he's old. And but it turned out he was convicted because he did do those crimes. And I'll tell you, you know, it's kind of hard. Something like that comes out of the past. But on the other hand, all those people that were terrorized by this guy, they had a little bit of closure and a little bit
Hmm.
of justice. And so I'm happy about that. I think there's some of those services that are more open to providing their information to law enforcement than others. But in my book, I used a fictitious service, so I
Hmm.
I could say yes, they gave it up, and, you know, make that up. But anyway, it was pretty interesting. And since then, as a matter of fact, I used to live in Fredericksburg, Virginia, a couple of hours from where I am now, and we had a couple of terrible murders there, 30 some years ago, including a woman who was um, she was a realtor, so her husband was at work, her kids were somewhere else, and so she went into her office in the evening in this suburban area and was working in this suburban office and was murdered and abducted. She was killed, rolled up in a carpet and taken away. And around that same time, we had a woman in our that worked at the same newspaper that I did, whose daughter went to visit her aunt up in the DC area and was driving back around the DC Beltway. I think she ran out of gas, pulled over to the side, and was murdered there. And they didn't find her for several days. And as a matter of fact, this friend that worked at the newspaper found her own daughter. She and her sister found the daughter by
Wow.
going up there and looking through the weeds. So those are two pretty terrible murders in the Fredericksburg area, and they were just recently solved. So
Mhm.
I'll tell you, that gives closure not just to the victims' families, but also to the whole community. The whole community is going like, yeah, because you know what? In our heart, we really want justice to
Mhm.
be served, especially in cases like that.
Now, Jess is working on a cold case because Aunt Desi, she really wants her to get the answers to this, horrible, it could be a horrible, horrible crime of being a boy being snatched by a stranger or, like you said, uh, lost. And so trauma like that for Aunt Desi, I mean, a lot of folks don't realize that, yeah, it's been years and such, 10 years, but it carries with you. It starts to inform everything you do or things you don't do. Trauma is just so paralyzing. And so I could see how your character, Jess Cooper, wants to help Aunt Desi get that closure because it does help us heal,
Yeah,
mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
that's
And
right.
like you were talking about those victims of that serial rapist, it did help them. It brought them close together as a group. The women found each other and they formed like
Mhm.
a victims group. But you're right, when he was convicted, even though he was an old man at that time, he still was convicted, and that gave them a little bit of justice that they had
Yeah,
craved for so many years.
that's
So
right.
tell us though about Amanda, Jessica's stepdaughter. How does she come into the story again?
Well, um, when Scott and his first wife, were divorced, the wife took Amanda to California, and
Mm,
so Scott really didn't have much of an opportunity to he would fly out there and see her a couple of times a year, but that's really not the same. She was little. She was only 5 or 6 years old when that happened. So now she's 16. Her mother was a bit of a flake and had repeated boyfriends coming in and out of the house and that sort of thing. And she grew up basically learning to isolate herself because her mom worked as a waitress. And so she was gone in the evening. So she was usually home alone with some guy that she barely
mm,
knew. It was a bad situation. And so one day she woke up with a guy trying to get into bed with her, a drunk guy, and she left. Her dad had given her, she was 16, her dad had given her a credit card to use, he said, in emergencies. So she used it. She left a note for her mom saying, if you report me as missing, I'm going to tell the police what this guy did. And then, you'll find out what happens then. So she just went,
mm,
bought an airline ticket, and came east and showed up on Scott's door. But of course, she's very troubled, she's just
mhm,
very troubled. Didn't have a good relationship with anybody. And then even after she got here, she's a beautiful girl. As a matter of fact, he said guys hit on her just even coming across the country by plane. So she had a lot of problems, including being raped and after a night of drinking at college and then losing the baby, which she denies. She just denies that that was a problem. But it turns out it really was a problem and it was working on her. And so her dad finally says, she finishes college early, and her dad says, she says she wants to go back to the beach. And he's not going to pay for California. That's not going to happen. So he says, yeah, okay, you can go to the beach and I'll continue to support you till law school starts, but it has to be here at Shankatig, which is an island off the coast of Virginia. My grandparents lived there when I was a kid. And so I used to go. As a matter of fact, we go every year. It's the famous place where Misty of Chincoteague takes place. That book that all
Oh.
of us read when we were 11. And so anyway, so Jess goes there in February, which is not exactly Santa Monica Beach. And she has a fit, but over time, the small town location helps her calm down. And she finds out she starts to connect with people in a way that she never did before. So there's a lot of healing. Her dad also insists that she get a job, even if it's a job changing sheets in a motel, and that she see a counselor. And so he
Yeah.
put those parameters on her, and she resisted and hated him for that, but she did it. And as a result, it really brought some healing to both of them. And I think that's the hope part of this is that even when our relationships are difficult and are estranged, if we keep praying and trying to be wise about how we deal with them and to be curious about our lives and not just angry with them, then then there really is some hope for healing, and that's something I wanted to write about.
Mm, powerful message for readers. I love that. And I Call Her Brave is out in the world right now.
It is. It came out June 1st, so I'm just getting early reviews on it, and people are loving these characters. And they read it in a couple of days, and they go, "When's the next one coming?" And I'm going, it takes me a year to write these books. I
Wow.
mean, just before I got online here with you, I was researching, is it legal to track somebody else's car? And what are the legalities of that? And what are the best trackers and all this stuff? So I do a lot of research, and because I want my books to be smart. I don't want people to go, "Oh, that would never happen." And so I do a lot of research, and it does take me about a year to get a book out. So, I'm working on it, and I'm already working on book 8, and I don't have a title for it yet, but I'm about, I don't know, 12,000 words into it. So,
Nice. Okay. And
yeah,
this is in the Canine Search and Rescue series?
same
Okay.
series, same characters, different,
Wow.
sort of a different, scope for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, so that's you're working on that for next, and that will release in 2026?
That'll be a 2026 book, unless I'm, blessed with very, very quick hands. In addition to that, I do a lot of teaching at church. I teach Bible studies and some speaking, some speaking at writers' conferences and that sort of thing. So, yeah, all of that keeps me very busy, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the activity all around me.
Sure. Are you going to any fall conferences this year?
I'm speaking at one in it's sort of a local conference. It's up in Fredericksburg. It's the Rappahannock Writers Conference in November. That's early November. I'm speaking at that one. I'm not going to any of the others, but um, yeah, I'm speaking there. And I just went to a conference up in Rockville, run by Jane Cleland, who does some pretty cool things for writers. Uh, she's online, and she writes cozy mysteries and is very
Mm,
involved in the writing community. And she has free webinars every month. And those are just encouraging things on Saturday. So, yeah,
nice. I love that. I love that you stay busy, even though you're working behind the scenes so hard on your stories, but and how you also keep in touch with your readers too. So, can folks head to your website and sign up for your newsletter?
yes, they sure can. If they do that, they'll get a free short story, really, is what it is. And it's about how Jess and her dog Luke got together. Um, they that so if they sign up for my newsletter, they can get that. And if they want to just unsubscribe from my newsletter right after that, that's fine too. I send out a newsletter about once a month. As a matter of fact, I'm just about to send another one, and I try not to overwhelm people. I send them out a little bit more frequently when I have a new book out. So yeah, but yeah, they can go to my website and they can see all the lineup and see the backstory. So I've got 13 books out now. The first ones were straight FBI thrillers. 3 of them were traditionally published, and then I went indie. after that because I had more control over things. So and it's worked out great.
So is I Call Her Brave an indie published book?
Yeah, they're all the canine books are indie published.
Okay. Well, I love the cover. It's beautiful. I just really, really like it a lot. So well done. Yeah, and what's your website again?
It's lindajwhite.net.
Gotcha. So remember, folks, it's .net.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so lindajwhite.net. And, if you Google Linda J. White, you'll come up with me. I have to use the J because I told my husband White was a pretty common name.
And Linda White, too. Yeah, that's pretty common.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the name. So
yeah, if it works, use it. Definitely.
That's right. So
well, Linda, this is always such a treat to talk to you about your writing process and your books and how dedicated you are to research. It really keeps me inspired as a suspense author to try new things. And that's what I'm going to do. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to chat with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Ruth. I appreciate it.
Wow, wasn't that fascinating to listen to Linda J. White talk about her writing process and how it's changed over the years, her research that she does. She's just incredible. And of course, her new story, I Call Her Brave, Book 7 in the Canine Search and Rescue book series. So head on out and purchase your copy right now. It's available on Amazon. And head to her website, lindajwhite.net, to sign up for her newsletter so you can find out what she's working on next and when her next book, Book 8 in the series, releases next year. And I'm so glad you're here to join me. I hope that you've been encouraged and inspired by Linda. She is a prolific and just a steadfast writer who always inspires me to keep going on this crazy writing journey with all of its twists and turns and ups and downs. It can be difficult, but I always stayed firm in my foundation of the fact that someone out there needs to read these stories of hope. So always remember to put hope in your story. And until next time, thanks for listening. God bless.